B.
Hey, what's up, Bo?
Do you know what food insecurity is?
Do you mean like someone that's insecure about their food intake, like eating?
Well,
like an eating disorder?
No. It can lead to that, but that's not exactly what it is. But good guess.
It's another definition. I'll tell you. I gave you a second definition. Then
It's a second definition, but it's definitely not the first one. Let's just get right into it.
I got that dish. Got that. I got that dish. Dish. I got that dish. I got that dish. That dish.
Hey y'all, it's Anika.
And it's your girl B.
And you are dishing with Dainty Dish. How you doing today, B?
You know, as always, scratching and surviving. Good times. How about you?
Give me a little more to work with. Give me a little bit more to work with.
Oh my gosh. I'm scratching and surviving. Good times. Was that a better tone? Like, it was more realistic. Like,
Oh my gosh.
times are
Hanging in
rough.
the challenge.
Yeah, times are rough.
That's what it's about, though. For once in this podcast, when you say scratching and surviving, good times, and I say, hanging in a challenge.
Oh, okay.
It is connected to food insecurity.
Okay.
And this is how
Oh my gosh.
that
Brilliant.
song is connected to food
Oh.
insecurity.
It's just the thing I say, but
So-
I'm happy it brings it all in for you today.
It's a disruption in food intake or eating pattern because of lack of money and other resources. So food insecurity right now is a pretty big deal because it's happening more and more with the pandemic.
Yeah. People can't get the food they need. Everybody's stealing up the goddamn paper towel and toilet paper. Listen,
Yes.
The second wave is apparently starting. Y'all don't do that shit again. Just don't do it.
Oh gosh, you know
Just
they
don't
will.
do it. Just don't
You
do
know
it.
they will. But that's not even the point. We're running out of food. Like,
We've been running out of food for a long time, though.
It's not even that we're running. It's okay.
Girl, we have
The
50-50 meats. In the
50-50.
in the grocery store.
What in the world is that?
50 vegetarian and 50% real beef.
Oh
meat
my
in the grocery
gosh.
store. We've been running out of food for a long time.
It's a thing. Ellie is not on the mic today, but he is here with us. Hey, Ellie.
Hey.
Yeah. But low food security is the quality and variety of desired foods are being reduced down to like the bare necessities. But people with low food insecurity are not linked to having no food at all as people with very low food insecurity are.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that might not have any food in their pantry to feed themselves and their children.
And this is new. Like, this is a shock to them. It's not like a regular day occurrence.
No,
That's what makes it.
That's what makes it's not a regular day occurrence. It's because with the pandemic, it's not. It's just it's now an occurrence. Like it's more.
No,
it
when
was,
I say regular day, like when you say food insecurity, it's not the same as like someone who doesn't have food, like a homeless person. You mean like it's someone that goes through like a devastation to then become.
I would say I would include the homeless with food
Okay.
insecurity.
Okay.
Because it's affecting 265 million people worldwide right now. And there's a couple of stories I want to get into. So I think we should get into the news flash. All right. So Canada's food insecurity problem is about to get worse. This is a report from June. So we've been talking about this since the pandemic basically started. So this is March, like facts that are coming in from March to June, because I always like to give a timeline. So it's like not a surprise that we're discussing this, right now. So a Stats Canada survey said that 1 in 7 Canadians, so 14.6%, live in a household where food insecurity is a problem. That number's up from 10.5% 2 years ago. COVID has brought distinct challenges to many sectors of food supply chains that have had to reshape how they deal with physical distancing, PPE, and equipment modification, all contributing to the rising cost of food. Because that's another problem. Food is more expensive now.
Oh yeah, there's a
Like,
shortage of vegetables, and I went to the store for strawberries for my baking, and could you imagine a little deggy container was like $6? I was like,
no, but think about what the farmers have to go through to get those strawberries to the grocery store.
Normally,
we just walk into grocery stores and they're full of food, and we just seem to not know how they managed to get there.
Listen, if people don't know where their food comes from, shame on you.
Like,
you need to read the labels.
There's this whole process.
Made in the USA or
exactly, or wherever.
So you should know. So.
Made in Canada. No, but grown. Yeah, but there's so many in Ontario. There's so many aspects to how our food gets to our table that's been affected by COVID.
Of course.
As they're talking about, the supply chain it's different now. It's not the way that it used to be. So this is it's completely messed up. So this is contributing to our food insecurity situation. Mm-hmm. And there was a person, Sylvan Chabois, of Dalhousie University, a food analyst, said this fall you'll see the worst as the government programs for CERB, which is the only time I'm saying that way, comes to an end. And then we will get the full economic picture of what we're dealing with. Because if you remember, CERB, whether you took it or you didn't take it, that's none of my business or anyone else's business, especially the government's. But whether you took it or you didn't take it, we're now in a unique position where they're doing all these other governmental programs, and they're more challenging to get involved with. And so, we were living with this like pie in the sky idea that the honey was going to keep, and the honey pot was going to keep flowing. Mm-hmm. The honey was going to keep coming, but unfortunately, the well went dry. You never miss the water till the well runs dry, and the well dried up. So now we're in a unique position to live on the income that we would be living on if we were, for someone like me, I'm on disability, so I live off of disability. And living on that small income compared to what I was living on when I was working, for instance, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic. It's an unrealistic state of being. That's why I had to go, fortunately, find something to do.
Find a job.
I found a job. Good for me. But, that doesn't mean that the last couple of months haven't been really, really rough. So, and we'll get to those stories where it's touched, my life, it's touched your life. Yeah. So, the most impacted will be Canadians that are financially vulnerable, that were financially vulnerable before COVID. So that's the population we're talking about. So that includes the homeless population. That includes people in...
The food banks are getting what they need to give and provide to these people. So.
Because keep in mind, remember these services shut down as soon as COVID happened.
And some of them shut down completely, and other ones are working very limited.
Yes.
Do as much as they can.
They're doing as much as they can, but they're not feeding the same populations. So like for community meal programs, which is something that was run out of one of my my old office. There was another attachment to it, and it was a community meal program. And, they're serving people outside of their own front doors. But like you should have seen like the amount of people, hundreds of people would gather in this one space for breakfast and for lunch every single day. So they depended on those meals. They were good hearty meals, and they depended on them. And now it's a matter of like the staff has to be shrunk down like by at least half probably. And then it's only essential workers. And then there's the food shortage, and on top of that, now the population that's coming in might not be getting fed what they were before, because everything's short.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you have the people that are completely devastated by what's going on, that have lost their jobs, that can't provide anymore with the finances they have, so they end up going to these places. So it's like everybody's...
Canadians with children, of course. I don't know what it's like to have kids, but I know, like, if it came down to me eating and my kids eating, my kids would always eat first. I would like to think that's how it's supposed to go. I feel that I would be a
100%.
responsible mother. So someone in the house is starving, but
100%.
it can't be the kids. Like, it can't be the kids.
100%.
But there are 18 million kids currently. I think it's either, that fact's in there somewhere. So I think it's in the States, or it's not in Canada. It's in the States. 18 million kids of the already millions and millions of people that are going through food insecurity that are going through this as well. You know?
Yeah,
So,
the breakfast clubs for schools are closed down. All of that, like, you know, people who'd get, you know, whatever they needed from school in that lunch cafeteria because they, you know, they depended on it because they knew they weren't going home for any good food or nothing at home. That's shut down. So
yeah, it's
And I remember, just to say, like, I remember in high school, those high school lunches in our cafeteria, like, some of them days were really good and they were cheap. You couldn't pay them type of money on the road for that type of food. So, like, you used to stock up. Like, you had $10, you're like, listen, I'm buying some for now, I'm buying some for after school. Like, so I can only imagine how the kids are, like,
dealing.
how the kids are dealing, how their parents are dealing. Know that the food has to pass in front of their mouth to go straight to their kid's mouth. It's
rough. And race is another contributing factor.
of
course.
According
to Food Share Toronto,
we never want
Black
to pull
and
the
Indigenous.
card.
No, but it's Black and Indigenous Canadians are more likely to experience barriers to affordable food. And why is that? It's called the BIPOC population, so the Black, Indigenous, and people of color population. These communities have already experienced shortages outside of COVID. So why wouldn't there be even more? I keep using the word shortage. It's not. It's just like it's gone. It's not.
Like,
these
the world's
services
trying to make
and
it
things
seem
are
like
not
it's
there
not
for them.
gone, but it's
Like,
gone.
so, and here's a black fact. That's what I'm calling it. I'm calling it a black fact. Black fact. Black Canadians are 3.5 times more likely to experience food insecurity. Like,
Did you say 3 out of 5 times?
3.5 times
3.5
more likely to
times.
experience food insecurity.
Yeah, I could manage. I could see that.
Yeah,
I've
so
gone through that already with my kids, like, and I make sure.
someone was quoted to say, ultimately, when we talk about food insecurity, we're talking about racism against Black and Indigenous folks. As a country, we need to recognize that racism and anti-Black racism is having a significant impact on health outcomes and access to food. So, yeah.
That was a real mouthful.
Well, that's what I said, so I can't take it back now. Yeah, but 1 in 7 and 3.5 times more likely for Black people.
Like, do these numbers shock anybody?
They don't really shock me.
Really?
It doesn't. No, it doesn't, because, like I said, like it feels like everyone's only recognizing there's a problem because now there's this huge symptom called COVID.
Yeah, it's so true.
That seems to be
Like,
the soup du jour.
COVID's
Like,
this, like,
COVID,
this big thing that blew the covers off of people's
like, it was a
eyes.
Pandora's
Racism
box.
and,
Like,
and food insecurities, and, you know, all
like,
these
this
things.
stuff was
like,
happening before. Like,
these
this
were
stuff
conspiracy theories for half of you people before this now.
you didn't think it existed,
And
but they
now-
were happening.
Shit's hit the fan, and y'all don't know what to do with yourselves. That's a personal problem.
Oh gosh, stop it. It's a personal problem.
That's a personal problem.
The Community Food Centers Canada, they did their own study. And again, it was 1 in 7. This is a big number. Like, it's how we have the 1 in 5 Canadians have mental health disorder or mental health issues. This 1 in 7 now is a big deal with food insecurity. And so for the first 2 months of the pandemic, there was an increase of 39%, which led, like, in people who are food insecure, which led to the number for 1 in 7. And they again quote that the Black, Indigenous population and people of color communities are the ones most affected. So let's see.
Because, like, you know, just to say, like, even with that number, because we know there's black doctors, there's black lawyers, there's, you know, people in the essential industries that have kept their jobs through this. But all the fast food workers, the retail workers, you know, like, even for your sector, in the mental health sector, like, these sectors lost their jobs, and a lot of those people had to have been African Americans or indigenous
or people of color.
Like, I'm before anybody gets offended, I am not saying that white people did not lose their jobs too. Y'all lost your jobs too. But unlike some of us, I know y'all have a little nest egg.
No, you don't know that.
some decent,
all of them got nest
credit,
eggs.
Some
decent
credit,
credit,
like,
nest eggs.
Like, not saying that
probably went on EI, you know,
like, yeah,
whatever.
like your jobs, yeah, like, you probably got EI,
and the
those
most
things
forgotten population is my population, the singletons of the world who have one income,
single and
unencumbered, didn't never look so bad apparently during COVID, because apparently single adults who live alone are partially at risk of being food insecure. And the reason behind this is because you got one income, you know, you're holding up a household. I know that I made the decision where other things come before food. Like,
that's what I was waiting for her to say. I'm like,
other things come before food, like paying bills, like, you know, or rent. Like, I had to make some serious decisions,
some serious life cuts.
Like, some serious life decisions in the last couple of months after I lost my job. Like, it was detrimental. Like, am I going to eat? Am I going to pay rent? Or am I going to maybe visit my local food bank, which I had to do last month? You know, it was tough. It was tough because
ain't no shame in it.
And it wasn't even about shame or even pride, really. It was just tough to see how, you know, it was so many people from different walks of life, and, you know, people were there with their kids, and, like, it was just really hard to see that we were all struggling so much, and we were there together. It was humbling. It was. I could imagine experience.
It was almost like, I don't want to be like Great Depression, but Great Depression, like, you know, when you see those films and footages of people standing outside of food banks and, you know, grocery stores, like we are going through our own little Great Depression right now.
100%.
Like, it was hard though. It was hard.
I can imagine. I've been to a food bank before when my eldest was younger. You know, money was tight, had to do it. Finances, you know, wasn't getting enough shifts from a job. But, like, it wasn't at a time where, you know, food insecurity seemed like a thing. So it was almost just like, you know, times are tough, times are hard this month. You got to pick it up next month. But with this right now, it's almost like there's no next month. Like, we thought it was 3 months. Turned to 6 months. Christmas is around the corner. Listen, I'm sorry to say, Christmas might be shut down. Like,
they're shutting everything down.
Because this, like, it's one thing to go from month to month, you know, but to go from month to unknown with this stuff,
it's hard. It's really hard. Next story up comes from the Association of American Medical Colleges, AAMC. 54 million people in America face food insecurity during the pandemic.
I'm sorry, can I just... How many Americans are there?
There's millions of Americans. Like, maybe, like, how many million are... Elliot, thanks. Yeah, I'm like, there's millions of them. Like, I don't know. Am I a population fact checker?
When you're speaking facts of 54 million people, like, I know that's not the whole of America. Like, that can't be the whole of America.
328 million people live in the United States of America.
Oh, so that's why Trump's carrying on the way he's carrying on. Like, it's just a speck of y'all that are dying from COVID, apparently. I understand now. I understand why he's moving that way. That's how he feels about you guys. That's shameful. 54. Go back to the fact. Let me hear what this is.
54 million people in America face food insecurity during the pandemic. It could have dire consequences on their health. Food insecurity across America has risen significantly since the pandemic. Sidelined 14 million workers in the United States from February to May, according to the Pew Research Center. So they sidelined 14 million people job-wise. Mm-hmm. And so they're seeing this spike because Feeding America, the largest hunger relief organization in the United States, estimated that 7 million people in the country could become food insecure because of the pandemic, bringing the total to more than 54 million people in the country. Including, this is where I said, the 18 million children. Mm-hmm. Before COVID, it was at the lowest, but the lowest was 37 million people. Like that's their measurement.
That was their measurement.
Yeah, like, it was at 37 mil. We're at 54 now. It was lower before, but it was not low.
Oh my gosh. And then I get news reports on my phone every day about all the millions of Americans that have applied for, unemployment this month and everything, with everything going on. So I could actually, now that I'm thinking about it and really putting it together, I could imagine the food, like what you're saying, like there's 18 million children and 50, like. Yeah, they're problematic. But how dare they say, it's just 34. It was just 34 billion last year.
37.
37, oh.
37 the year before, but the pandemic spiked it up.
We'll never bounce back.
And the U.S. Department of Agriculture is weighing in on this. They did a study in 2017 that found that food insecurity was associated with 10 of the most deadliest and costliest preventable diseases in the country, including hypertension, diabetes, cancer, and stroke.
Is that in America?
So that's in America, but
you know why though?
I mean,
them dollar 10-piece nuggets y'all eating out there. Them 16-ounce drinks y'all been gulping out there. I don't mean
to talk about food, like just talking about eating food right now, because we're talking about not eating food. But like I was telling cousin Nikki, she goes to me, how come Canada doesn't have honey barbecue wings? I said, because we can't put something on our menu that's like 14,000 calories. Like,
yeah,
we can't have like something that's 1,400 calories.
We calorie count out here.
We calorie count. I said, we can't have that on our menus. I love honey barbecue wings, but see how I only eat that in a day?
And that's why our food is so expensive too, because it's coming straight from our Ontario farms. It's not being shipped.
We calorie count.
It's a grade A quality. Like them $2 burgers they eating out there. So this is going to
lead to things like hypertension. This is going to lead to things like diabetes, because they're going to eat the cheapest, fastest food. Listen, which is going to cause these underlying problems.
I always said this about the States. I'm like, anytime you go to the States, it's so funny when you see, people that'll go in and eat like $10 worth of food from McDonald's. Because $10 worth of food from McDonald's for us is like a combo. $10 worth of McDonald's in the States is like you're feeding 4 people. The whole family is getting fed for $10. So it's like when times are down and out, and like this now with COVID going on, and you don't have money, people have $2 sometimes to rub together, and they'll go quick to McDonald's for that food. Mm-hmm. So that's gonna cause all of these problems in their health, not our health. I'm sorry, y'all.
It's not our health.
Free healthcare out here. I'm sorry, y'all. We don't abuse it, but we use it.
We use it when it's necessary. The United Nations recently made a statement. They projected, because of COVID, the number of people facing severe food insecurity worldwide could double to 265 million people. That's the fact I quoted earlier. So that was from the United Nations.
Like, we have to realize, like, let's be honest, we've been in this COVID world for a year now.
Yes.
It started in November. Okay? We've been in this for a whole year. That means it's a whole year's worth of financial damage, agricultural damage, like environmental damage, like
industrial damage.
You know what? We kind of got a little like environmental break when people weren't supposed to be on the roads and people weren't working. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like we got a little break. Our green footprint improved probably a little bit. The roads were empty. But in every other aspect, like there's a lot of damage that we have to recover from.
And we're still not out of it.
We're in the second wave right now. God forbid there be a third and a fourth. Knock on wood.
Oh my gosh. some are saying the worst case scenario is that there's going to be famine in 36 countries. That's 36. I remember my math. That's 36 countries. The world only has how many countries is in the world? Like, I need to know. If 36.
See, I'm not about to
countries-
embarrass myself. You see, that's why
I don't know.
I'm here
I feel
quiet.
like it's in the 90s or the 190s. I don't know. I can't remember.
195.
I was good at 195. So 36 of those countries might be in famine. And the thing of it is, it might not be Canada, it might not be America, but it might be somewhere with someone like going through
For
that.
sure, family, friends, anybody.
You just
But you know
never
what?
know.
Listen, I'm not calling it upon us, but listen, we don't ride with America, but we're connected. We're North America. It's not Canada. Yes, like we're North America. So if they go through it, we're gonna go through it too. So realistically, like we can't count ourselves out with all this stuff going on. What, Trump's already cutting down our imports and exports with America? So what are we left with when we have our winter months and we need stuff?
Like, just going back, I read something. I didn't even think to write it down, but I recall when I read it. Not to completely just shift the subject to something else, but I think I'm going to.
No, just do it.
You're like, do it. Just do it, girl.
It has something that'll loop back around.
Yeah, it'll come back around. Food insecurity, because remember you said at the beginning, it's like when you eat, like you have insecurity about eating. So you are seeing a spike in more food related disorders. Because people who already
have
not
them
eating food are even more so now. They have the excuse of, not the excuse, I don't like the choose word of these, but they have the reasoning that, well, we're in a pandemic, I don't have to eat during the pandemic regardless.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I honestly thought that this was
Yeah.
about. But this
No,
even
no,
goes
but-
deeper because we've been in food. We've been dealing with food insecurity for years. This is only heightened everything because of COVID. So
yeah. So what is the government doing?
what are they doing?
So the Food Policy of Canada's Local Food Infrastructure Fund, the government of Canada is
Fancy
making up to
words.
$100 million available in emergency funding for Canadian food banks and other national food rescue organizations to help give people access to food that are experiencing food insecurity due to COVID.
So what is this money supposed to go towards?
Okay, glad you asked. Funding will be used for purchasing food and other basic needs, buying or renting equipment and materials, transporting and distributing food, accessing new distribution centers. Hiring temporary help to fill volunteer shortages, and implementing biosecurity measures. So obviously, like
The cleaning, the
sanitations,
sanitization.
like making sure everything's nice and neat and clean, and that
So they're
there's a
basically
security
giving them
up
money
front,
to turn food banks into like an Uber Eats
basically
type of thing, storefront with the glass up, plastic up, whatever situation.
it's not going to be. It doesn't seem like they're trying to shift back towards the way things used to be, where people could go into community meal centers and shelters and sit down and eat and
Get warmth,
have a little bit
stay
of
out
dignity.
the sun in the sun.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't look like it's going towards that direction. It looks more like they're hunkering down and they're saying, okay, this COVID thing is not going anywhere anytime soon. So we've got to do the best we can to protect the population as well as to protect our staff. So in order to do that,
every business has to do right now. So
so they're distributing the funds over a couple of different areas. Food Banks Canada, which provides national leadership to relieve and prevent hunger in collaboration with food banks networks in Canada, is getting $50 million. So they're getting about half. Yeah, they're getting half.
okay,
$45 million will evenly be distributed to Second Harvest. They recover fresh, unsold food to protect environments and provide immediate hunger relief.
Oh, so is that like that place that you used to you used to volunteer at?
Yeah, kinda.
Okay.
Kinda. Yeah. Community Food Centers Canada. It works in partnership to create community food centers that bring people together to grow, cook, share, and advocate for good food. So I've never heard of Community Food Centers Canada.
Never.
But
And how much are they getting?
it's being evenly distributed over 4 places for the 45 million.
Oh, okay.
So the Breakfast Clubs of Canada
Mm-hmm.
provides foods, kitchen equipment, training, and volunteers to school clubs across Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And the Salvation Army, of course.
Okay.
Supports food security across Canada through food banks, community meals, and school meals.
All right, let's see if they really get the money. And if it's no fuss and no muss.
Well, I don't know what I hope is that everyone just does the best they can for people who are dealing with food insecurity and not just have them be a forgotten population.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem, just like every other seems like problem right now, is just growing and growing and growing. And it's not going to get any better unless the government steps up, which they seem to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how the spokes and the wheels turn, if they're turning slow or quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like Christmas and winter is coming. So a
Yeah.
lot of these people need food supplies. And with the second wave hitting us very recently, we are going to see the shelves getting emptied again. We are going to see people stocking up on things that they don't necessarily need to stock up on. So even that, like, people may even have the money to purchase food, whether they're getting government funding or they're, still working or whatever, and they won't still have access to the food. So, it's just making sure it's accessible to everyone, and we're just feeding our population.
Like, we have to. If we won't feed our neighbor, who will? Listen, we're from a culture and a family where when one person cooks, we parcel up for this auntie, parcel up for that auntie, parcel. So, like, we make sure, the chain's never broken when it comes to food. So maybe that's just something people could do. If you make spaghetti and meatballs one night, and someone that's going through it, like, just, hey, I made some food. There's a little extra food here for you. Like, here, take it. That's all it takes. You might think it's not much, but it's something when people can't get the food they need.
That's a really good suggestion.
But we do that in our family.
Yeah,
I was here
do.
thinking about it. Like, one person cooks food, like, oh, let me parcel out some for this person, that person.
It happened with our Thanksgiving stuffing. Mom gave it away to everybody.
Did she
except
really?
me. Yeah, she did. She gave most of it to Auntie Wendy.
Well, you should have parceled out yours.
I should have.
So that was your own.
That was my own bad.
doing.
Can't get it again until Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Damn, I'm gonna have to convince
okay.
Papa Dates to make
But
some
yeah.
one of these days. It's tough.
It's a tough situation.
It's a tough
and
situation.
We got to realize we're not getting out of it anytime soon. We've kind of been in it, and this is just the blindfold coming off of our eyes. So, everybody do their part. Lend your hand. Remember before when we were in elementary school and then they said, bring a tin for the food bank. Well, the food bank's almost getting depleted. So now it's bring a tin to someone that's in need. Like,
Exactly.
bring it forward.
Or to the food banks even.
Still to the food banks, yes. But I'm just saying,
still to the food banks.
it's getting hard for them. They got to sit down now and plan and do their things with this government money that they're getting, to make it work. So in the meantime, out of the kindness of your heart, not saying go above and beyond if you don't have the funds. Everybody's going through a hard time, but make a dish for somebody.
Make a dish.
Make a dish.
Make a dish. A dainty dish.
A dainty dish.
But yeah, this is going to be just a short one, a brief one. I wanted to talk about food insecurity because I thought it was a relevant topic, and with everything everyone's going through, this is the last thing that people need to even be worried about, but it should be the first thing on everyone's mind. As I said, going to the season that we're going into, Christmas, where people are they're not eating toys this year. It's like they feast at Christmas.
Yeah,
people
are normally
feast,
buying turkeys and all types of things
year.
from now. And
not this year. So like B was saying, think about your fellow man and your neighbors and what they may be going through and how you can give them a hand. So if you guys have any questions or you want any resources related to food banks or any food related rescue organizations, B, let them know how they can reach us.
Yeah, and even if you're like you own your own little food business, and you want to maybe connect with our listeners and share, like, if you're in the area and you provide food for the community, give us a little DM, a little ring-a-ding-ding, a little email.
Ring-a-ding-ding.
So you can get a hold of us through email at dysh@daintydish.com. So that's dysh@daintydysh.com. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
give us 5.
And if you're listening to us on any other streaming service, thank you so very much. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to get a hold of me or Onika or Elle, our Instagrams, my personal one is That Mother Bad XO. So that's THATMUVABADXO. And Onika's is
Best of Onika. That's BESTOFONIKA. And Ellie's is it's its.ello.
Perfect. And if you're looking to get a hold of all three of us, our joint Instagram is Dainty Dish Podcast. So that's DAINTYDYSHPODCAST. And that's it for me, right?
Yes,
that's all. Still a spelling bee champion. I didn't have to
Still
say it because it was so fluid today. It was so fluid.
Oh gosh. All right, guys, that has been the dish of the day, and I hope y'all have yourselves a very, very, very happy hump day.